Hello and welcome back to Chatbot on Robot Republic. I'm Josh, and joining me today we have a very special guest because I am with Crystal from Critter Crops. Hello, Crystal.
Hi,
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks. So we're going to talk about your really exciting solo, and I'm going to stress that word because this game is completely solo. Really adorable farming sim stroke story driven game that you are developing completely on your own that is absolutely adorable, called Critter Crops, which I have played the demo of, and can't wait for release. It's going to be so good.
Thank you. So I'm really excited too.
I bet. So we're going to jump straight in with the really important burning question. How did you come up with the kind of style for this game? Because it's like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, but it's a bit different. And at the risk of people kind of like, getting all rowdy in the chat and stuff, I kind of prefer it.
Well, so long story short, this game started as a college project, as all great projects do. And the design of like the characters in the world kind of came from literally the fact that I was like, I don't have much time to do something complex, so I'm gonna do something really simple. And I guess people just kind of love the way it looks and the concept. I've always loved farm simulators and kind of the wholesome vibe. So I wanted to do something that kind of incorporated all of my favorite aspects of my favorite wholesome games. And it initially started off as literally just for my college project. I have a character, I can plant a thing, and I can harvest a thing, and it turns into a creature. And that was it. That was the whole concept. And I shared it on social media, and people went nuts. And so it kind of just evolved into what it is now. So yeah.
Oh, and that's amazing. I mean, from a really like gorgeous, humble, this is my college project, people look at it and everyone was just like, oh my god, we need to see more of this. And having played the demo, we do need to see more of this because it is just it's adorable. It's really wholesome and really adorable, and it's got this really kind of I likened it when I was playing it earlier to Stardew Valley in Halloween Town from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And that's literally like, when I was playing it through, I kind of emailed our editor and I was like, oh my God, it's like this. And our editor was like, really? I was like, it's so good. I was like, and it's got like a Pokemon element as well, because you are, and that's what I was going to talk about, kind of like main mechanics and stuff, because you go in and you plant these little seeds that turn into plants. And then when you harvest the plants, they become these adorable little, almost Pokemon-esque critters. And kind of, where did that idea come from? Because that is just so different from anything I've seen in any of these little like farming games where you harvest the things and normally it's like, here are your tomatoes. It's like, great, cool, thank you very much. In this, it's here is your really cute little bat berry that just follows you around, or your pumpkin cat that wanders around with you. Where did that idea come from? Because it's so cool.
So my first ever Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow. And in Pokemon Yellow, you have Pikachu that follows you around. And I always wanted in Pokemon for all of my Pokemon in my party to be able to follow me around. I always wanted to have them with me all the time, like see them and pet them and hang out with them. And that seemed to be missing. And then there was a game that I recently played that I was like, oh, this would be such a good idea. And it's Ooblets. If you've not heard of
Yes.
Ooblets, I got so much inspiration from that game. I was like, oh, this is so great. And so that's kind of where the concept came from, but I really wanted to use real things that exist because they kind of use like made up fruits and veggies. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, what can I make with kind of like a Halloween-y inspired like creatures. And you'll find that theme like throughout the whole game. There are more critters than what's in the demo and what people have seen. There's actually 24 critters total.
Wow.
So they're all kind of that same spooky vibe and all super adorable. So yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I was a bit shocked because I think I completed one of the story quests, and we'll come on to the kind of like story and the premise and everything in a minute. But I completed one of the story quests, and I got a third type of seed. And at that point, I was like already enamored with the cool little bat berries. I was really, I found the little ghosty plants that followed me around adorable. And then all of a sudden, I had a cat pumpkin, and I was like, oh, I have a pumpkin cat. This is the best game ever. I've got a cat that's a pumpkin. It's amazing. Um, I kind of so the story, obviously, the game is still in development and stuff, and I know that you're working really hard round the clock to kind of like get more of the kind of game worked on and stuff. Kind of the premise of the game when I was playing it is you are this young witch who is gifted a mansion, um, and then when you arrive on the island, there's no one there. The town is looking a bit sad, and the mansion has got gigantic eyes that are looking you up and down and are generally looking very grumpy, which was just brilliant, by the way. Where did kind of like, in terms of the kind of the story and the structure and stuff, kind of what was the inspiration and kind of like how did you decide on the kind of idea that you're going to have this little lone witch who's gifted a really cool looking mansion with a scary monster set of eyes and some random kind of like thorny tendrils and stuff kind of popping out of it? Where did that come from? Because it's just so creative.
So not to get emotional on anyone, but so a lot of the story kind of takes inspiration from our generation. We're kind of the misunderstood, the ones doing things that are not the norm, things that are generally kind of frowned upon. A lot of people, it's way more common, especially here in America, people get disowned by their families because they're following their dreams or, sexual orientations or religious whatever. And so I kind of wanted to give a little voice to kind of that, a character who was met with immense challenge. I got taken out of my home and I have nowhere to go. And instead of giving up, she says, "This is what I got. Let's see what I can do." And so being that it was kind of like she's a witch, and I've always been a huge fan of Halloween and spooky stuff, like Supernatural is like one of my favorite TV shows ever. And like Monster House. Monster House was, I was like, oh, a mansion, I have to make it alive. Like it has to be.
Oh, absolutely.
And so with that, I was like, okay, how can I create a world that is essentially blank? That, Sylvie goes in and she's like, this is now my home, let me make it what I want, but still have that kind of bit of mystery to like really create the actual story and your reason for doing things. And so I came up with the mystery benefactor, this person that just gives you this mansion. You're like, whoa, mansion, and then, you go from I have a mansion to I have nothing because I can't even get into the mansion. So yeah, it just kind of was a little bit of personal inspiration, my own life and experiences and things I like, I guess.
That's awesome. And kind of it is very true of our generation, to be fair, that we are a little bit misunderstood. We're a lot more accepting of other people, but not necessarily the generation above us is very accepting of us. And I think you do get that vibe. There are kind of some of the dialogue lines that you kind of say when you're kind of talking to, I think it's the Banshee woman who rocks up, who is brilliant, by the way. We'll come on to characters in a minute, but brilliant. When you're talking to the Banshee about kind of like, I'm kind of not where I'm meant to be kind of thing. And when you're wandering around at the start, when you get off the boat, it's very kind of like, well, I've got this mansion, let's make the most of it. And I think that's something that our generation is kind of quite good at doing. Actually, we're like, right, well, everything's kind of, it's gone a little bit sideways. Let's just get going and
Mhm.
on to the next thing. And that's absolutely beautiful, actually, that you're kind of that kind of, and it does really come across when you play the game. Even the short little demo bit that I played, it really came across in the dialogue and stuff. Um, and then obviously you've got this wonderful raft of characters. Obviously we've got our protagonist, who rocks up and stuff, but then we've got is it Cleaver the chest? I'm just thinking.
Mr. Greaves.
Mr. Greaves the chest. Not, I don't know where I got Cleaver from. Apologies. Um, we've got our little, very adorable Grim Reaper guy who stands at the edge of the pier, and we've got our really awesome Banshee friend. Um, I think first question, obviously, this is still in development stuff. Are we going to get more characters?
Yes. So there's a few characters that have been announced. They're just not in the demo. One is Crux. He is he's a Gorgon, and he is the son of Medusa. Um, and he decides that he doesn't want to be, part of the whole petrifying thing. He wants to sell books and
Oh,
spells. So he comes to the island in search of, new business, new opportunities. And then there is Goyle, who is a gargoyle. And he is kind of like a craftsman. And then there is Dot, who is, I'm not gonna say what Dot is yet because
okay. We'll leave the mystery.
I haven't announced what Dot is, but Dot is like a construction person. Um, and then there are also residents that you can have eventually in each of the different areas in the game. I always forget their names, so I have them here because I knew I was gonna forget it. Let me just find them really quick. Um, so in each biome, there's six potential residents. You can only pick three, and they all kind of have their own special kind of backstories, and you can become friends with them. And they have like a friendship meter and stuff. And they'll give you gifts, and you can give them gifts. And where are they? Oh no. Okay, I might have lied to you. Where did I put them? JK. Oh, here they are. So there's Jolly, Kaya, Dracus, Arane, Jinx, and Ezekiel. Jolly is she's the daughter of Jack-o'-lantern, who is like this famous mobster.
Yep.
Kaya is an ex-actress. She's a kitsune. She's like a fox spirit. Dracus is a vampire, and he is allergic to blood. Um,
Brilliant.
Arane is an arachne, and she is vegetarian. Jinx is a mummy, and he kind of doesn't speak really. And Ezekiel is a zombie, and he forgot everything about his life.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So
So much world building as well. Oh, I'm excited to meet them. Um, that's really, really cool. And so much kind of work on kind of characters and story and stuff has gone into this. What always next thing on my list, I have a list as well. I do prepare for these. But despite the fact it never seems like I do on all of these. Kind of with the characters and stuff, obviously the big standout to me when I kind of first booted it up and stuff was the art style of the game, and it's this kind of 2.5D with this just really, it's just a really calming aesthetic. And then in a minute we'll go on. We'll talk about all the mechanics and everything else. But the the art style is beautiful, and obviously as a one-person team, um, is that all of that art from you?
Yes.
That's
So
amazing.
everything that you see as far as visuals I made, or there, like, a lot of stuff is temporary, but the majority of stuff in the game is going to be made by me, unless eventually I'm able to hire someone else. I'm really hoping I'm able to do that, because like you said, it's an immense amount of work.
Yes.
And I would never lie and say that I love every minute of it. No, I don't. I
We're getting
I'm
real.
actually I'm actually a software developer in my everyday life, like my regular job. I love coding. That's what I'm good at. That's like my forte. I've been an artist since I was a little girl. Like, my mom and my grandmother used to say all the time, if they couldn't hear me or see me, I was off somewhere drawing a picture. Like, I love art, but I've never, ever, ever wanted to do it for my job, because it kind of ruins it for
Yeah.
me. So I'm like, please, I want to hire somebody else to do it, because it's so stressful. It takes a lot of time. And truth be told, before this project, I never animated a thing in my life. So the animations are pretty clunky here and there, but I think people are just like, okay, it's fine, Crystal. You're one person. We get it.
I was gonna say, and the animations, I wouldn't say clunky. I mean, when I was playing it through, the animations they were just quite nice.
Well, thanks.
They just kind of fit the aesthetic. From my perspective, there might be people who disagree with me, in which case you're all fine to do that. But from my perspective, it fit the aesthetic of the game, and it kind of felt quite nice, especially when you've got the little blackberries following you around and the pumpkin kitty, which was adorable. I love
Well,
the
thank
pumpkin.
you.
But that's incredible, and yeah, I am not an artist. My art skills are absolutely terrible. I'm a dab hand with Photoshop, and that's about as far as it goes. Um, so yeah, no, I understand the kind of art thing, and actually, yeah, I as a one-person team, it is absolutely just amazing what you're doing with this kind of thing. The next thing on my kind of list I want to talk about was the mechanics around the actual critter crops themselves.
Okay.
Um, because obviously when I was playing it, I noticed I'm not sure. It might just be that I have a really bad perception of time. But do each of the different plants have a slightly longer growth time?
Yes.
They do. Yes.
Yes. So actually, in that demo, I would say that, like, the growth times for everything in the, free, publicly accessible demo, the growth times are probably like 3 times faster
Yep.
than what they will be in the actual game, as well as like the day-night cycle. I just wanted people to be able to experience everything in a pretty quick manner, not having to sit there for 30 minutes while you wait for something to happen. So yes, and all of the creatures in the game will kind of have different times that it takes for them to grow, and different conditions.
Oh, different conditions. We're really piling on the variables here. That's exciting now. Oh, different variables. Ooh. Can I be really cheeky and ask if we can get a sneak peek at what some of these conditions might be?
Okay, I'll give you one, just because I have mentioned it in other interviews. So there is a creature that wasn't in the demo, but it's out there in the world. It is Werdermelon, werewolf watermelon. Um, and one of the conditions to grow Werdermelon is you have to craft wolf's bane and put it in the hole before you put
Oh,
the seed.
yeah.
Because if you just try to plant the seed, then it will just die. So
Ah, that's really cool. That's a really cool mechanic. I
thank
like
you.
that. Really like that. Um, yeah, and I was gonna say when I was kind of playing it through and stuff, kind of one of the things that really stood out from the kind of mechanics is that day-night mechanic and the smoothness of those transitions. Like it's not just kind of like you're wandering around, kind of like you're wandering around the town, planting some planting some really cute cute critters, and then it's just boom, night. There's this really lovely fade. Was that quite difficult to kind of program in and stuff? Obviously, you're a software developer, so kind of programming and stuff is slightly easier for you than us
No,
laymen, but
no, actually, and this will be all part of like my actual. I'm going to make a public like breakdown of all things that I use that I didn't code. The day-night cycle that I use is actually free.
oh
It's
wow,
free on the Unity Asset Store for anybody to use for projects of any size. And it's really phenomenal. It's very, very good. I'm trying to think of the name of it, and I'm totally getting amnesia because I used it, like I put it into the game so long ago.
I'll see if
Yeah,
I can find it.
I have my project open. Maybe I can find it. I think it's literally just called Day Night System 2D. But it's so good, and I've recommended it to a lot of people. Like, you can change the colors of like how the colors change. You can change how quickly things change. It lets you implement lighting sources and shadow sources and all kinds of other things. Some other really amazing person coded it, and I seriously owe this person like my life because it looks so good.
I think I found the one. It's called the 2D Day Night and Shadows.
Quite
Is that right?
possibly, yeah.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
I've just noticed it says 100% noob friendly as well, which I look at and go, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really like just drag and drop basically. It's so good. Of course I've altered it a bit to fit my project
Yeah.
as far as like the code goes, but like the baseline thing is like already like so good. So
Brilliant.
I will have that in my credits and everything just because so many people have asked like this looks so good. What yeah.
Absolutely. I think that brings us in a kind of roundabout way into the kind of the way in which you kind of start engaging with the world, because it's quite intuitive actually. When I was walking around and stuff, it's kind of, I don't want to use the word simple because simple always sounds like a bad thing, but it's quite intuitive, but it's not over the top. You wander around with the sticks, your arrow keys, and then you literally tap the E key to just interact with things.
Mhm.
Kind of, is there kind of, and then obviously you push the I button to open your inventory and stuff. Is there going to be any more kind of like complicated controls in the game, or is it just going to stay quite nice, standard, wander around, plant things, open the inventory, and move around and sell stuff? Is there kind of
So I'm not sure how much of the game you followed, but this game is actually going to have a combat system. Um,
Oh, I
so
did know. I saw something about this on Twitter the other day when I was
yeah,
prepping for this.
so
Yeah.
so remember I mentioned the character Crux? He's the spell guy. Well, he actually ends up giving you a grimoire, your magical book, which is why this game is technically classified as an RPG because you have three separate classes that you can pick from. And those kind of give you different spells and different abilities that you wouldn't have if you picked one of the other books. And before you ask, no, you cannot change your book. Once you pick a book, that's it. That's the one you get.
Oh, love it.
And so that being said, there are going to be controls for that using on PC. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3 are going to be kind of hard coded. You can't change them. They are innate to your book. You can't
Yep.
get rid of them. But 4, 5, and 6 are editable. You can purchase new spells and switch out spells if you meet the right conditions to do so.
Ooh, that's
That one
exciting.
I'm not going to tell you. That one I'm
No, oh,
not going
no,
to
no,
tell you about.
that's fine. Well, you've got to leave something for the release trailers. Oh, brilliant. Um, I mean, obviously, kind of like I'm assuming because the demo ends quite very much at the point where you're about to what I'm assuming is start construction on the first shop.
Yeah.
So in the demo, I'm not going to spoil the whole demo, but you meet some of the major characters, You get to grips with the basic farming aspects of it. And then it ends once you have done a certain number of tasks, which again, I'm not going to spoil. And you then interact with a building in the world with a diamond-shaped door, which is, I believe you're told by Mr. Greaves, the talking mimic chest, which, by the way, we're going to come on to in a minute because that's brilliant, by the way. To interact with the diamond door to open a magic shop. Is that going to be where combat and the grimoire are introduced, or does that come a little bit further down the line?
Yeah, so the shop that gets open, I'm trying not to give things away either, ends up being Magic Media, which is the Grimoire Shop. And that's where you get to meet Crux, and he's a character. I think people will love him. So
very excited now, very excited to meet him. I mean, you know, the characters that we've already kind of met in the game are really lovely. And I loved the idea that when Mr. Greaves is introduced, he is introduced as a mimic. And anyone who has played any RPGs in ever that has a mimic in it, we all know that mimics are bad news. And when he said mimic, I was like, oh, and I just had like these weird flashbacks of the ones that appear in Final Fantasy games and the ones that appear in Dark Souls and Demon Souls. I was like, this game is too cute for it to be a Dark Souls mimic. It's not going to grow legs. It's not going to try and eat me. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And he's lovely. I mean, way to
he's
subvert.
refined. He's a fine gentleman.
I sat there in my head. I had Stephen. I don't know why, but I had Stephen Fry's voice reading off. just that voice with the dialogue that you'd written, which was just resonating in my head. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And it, you know, kind of when you were planning the idea, obviously, Mr. Greaves is quite an important character and stuff in the kind of general mechanics for the game. And if people want to find out more about that, you're going to need to go play it. But kind of was the intention to kind of have him as a mimic, but have him as this, to kind of flip it on its head, instead of having mimics as these kind of horrible, scary, fake treasure chests that try and eat people, and have kind of flipped that on its head and have him as a more kind of helpful individual.
So you will find that some of the most important characters in the game are basically what most video games have taught you to stay away from. And that all plays back to the original concept of trying to understand the misunderstood. And, you know, Mr. Greaves, I was like, you know, he could have been any Halloween creature, any supernatural RPG creature, but I was like, you know, he's such an integral character. He's really, really important, and you will talk to him a lot. So I really wanted it to be a character type, a creature type that, you know, people from multiple generations are going to know what that is. And, you know, there's been a lot of people that don't know what a mimic is, and, you know, which was astounding to me, like mind boggling. So now I've had people go, well, where else in the world of gaming is this? And kind of go and find out and see more about these histories of gaming, and kind of, you know, I'm getting younger people to see things that have been kind of phased out of games a little bit, which is so cool to see. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the thing that stood out to me when I was kind of working through and playing the demo is the kind of, it felt, when I was playing it through, it felt like when I was younger and I used to play, you know, kind of like the old school DS versions of Animal Crossing, you know, the very first iteration of Stardew Valley, and those kind of games when I was kind of growing up and stuff, which was quite a while ago. I was born in the 90s, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. 90s.
Born in the 1900s.
Yeah, born in the 1900s. But, you know, and it kind of just, there were all these really lovely callbacks. And like I say, you know, kind of when I was playing around and kind of like talking to the kind of the Reaper character and the Banshee, I was like, and I said it at the start, it was like wandering around a kind of hand-drawn Halloween town from The Nightmare Before Christmas with these monsters, which, and the game does kind of this idea where you've got, the Grim Reaper, and he kind of talks in a quite kind of like interesting and intriguing way. And you have to go to him for, important game reasons. Again, if you want to know, you'll have to go play it, people. But it's just really, for me, playing it, I was like taken back to my childhood when I used to play kind of like, the old school 2D Pokemon games before they became all bright and colorful in 3D, playing Pokemon Blue and then Yellow. It was just really lovely. And the other thing as well that I kind of noticed, and I didn't notice this until I had made the mistake of planting five
Oh no.
Banbury plants. I was a little bit sad, I'm not going to lie, is that you have to harvest them in time.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they kind of wilt and die. And I was like, oh. I had this moment of kind of like mild grief when I was playing it through. I was like, this is why you don't play farming simulators, because you're really bad at them and things always end up dying. I was like, oh, and at this point I had two batberries behind me and I was like, oh no, this has just got really awkward. They've just seen one of their brothers die in front of them. But it was really enjoyable as a demo. The other thing I wanted to talk about as well was kind of the programming and stuff, because obviously as part of our kind of discussions with people from the game industry, we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about the narrative and the art style and the music and everything else, but we also talk about the programming and stuff. So kind of how much of a challenge, obviously background in software development, that's your day job. How much of a challenge is this, or has this been to kind of like program and get working and stuff? Because obviously I would imagine there have been quite a few bugs during the kind of initial kind of like building process and stuff. So kind of how has that been?
So prior to making this project, I had quite a bit of experience in Unreal Engine. So this game is built in Unity, but I had learned a bit about how game development might go, or how to plan things through Unreal Engine. But going into Unity was, to be frank, really hard. I honestly got so lost in that engine, and I was just so confused how things worked. But now that I've spent so much time in it, it's substantially easier than Unreal Engine. It's just a lot more simplistic, and I learned a lot about coding in itself by doing this project. My actual degree isn't in coding, it's in computer science, which focuses more on like algorithmic structures and how code works, but not so much how to make the code. So it was really challenging, especially because my education didn't teach me anything about C languages. It was primarily things like Java and like web development languages. So I went in completely blind, not knowing what I was doing. So I was learning C sharp, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, C sharp for Unity.
C sharp, and learning Unity engine and learning how to animate all at the same time. But it's been so valuable. Like I've watched so many of like Bracky's tutorials. Which literally, like, if you want to be a game developer and you haven't watched Bracky's tutorials, you're never going to be a game developer, because literally, like, that guy is a god.
Oh god, I've watched some of those tutorials and I'd sit there and kind of go, oh, that's how it works. That's why it's not been working up to now. They are brilliant tutorials, to be fair.
It's so good. And I am so thankful for growing up in this era where we can just Google something and the answers just come up. But a lot of my game was actually constructed algorithmically by me. Like, I always worried about performance for this game, just because the maps are actually pretty big, and there are a lot of things on the map at a time, and your interactions with so many different things that have to be cycled through and everything. And so the algorithmic structures were really, really important. And thankfully, that's where I excel. So, yay.
Oh, amazing. And it is, I mean, to be fair, like, just the demo portion that we played is so smooth, you know, not janky, not buggy at all. It just does what it needs to do, and it is really lovely. I mean, I completed the demo bit, and then I had to go back on and just spend some more time growing more critter crops, just because I kind of fell in love with it. I'm not gonna lie, it was just really lovely. Honestly,
Thank you.
absolutely, it just is. And I think the next major question is, what is next in the kind of development process and stuff, really? Because obviously you're at a specific point in the development process. Kind of what's next, really?
So, my intention is to have a beta release eventually. Things have been going a little slower than I would have liked, but I think as developers, we set a timeline and then we're like, yeah, that's a timeline, but we're probably not going to stick to that timeline. But I want to have a beta release and eventually do a Kickstarter campaign for the game because, like I said, it would be really nice to be able to get some help. And that also would make it so that I can actually add more to the game and make it overall better. But even if I don't have a successful Kickstarter or whatever, I still plan on finishing the game. I don't really have like a timeline really, because aside from being a game developer, I have a full-time job. I'm a mom and a wife. So, I have responsibilities outside of my
Absolutely.
hobbies, but um, the main thing right now is finishing the first biome in the game, which is Murmur Town.
Ooh, exciting. That sounds really cool. I'm not gonna lie, very excited for that. Um, yeah. Oh, daren't I ask? Can you tell us a bit more about this biome,
Well,
or is this super secret?
so there are going to be 5 different biomes in the world. The one that you first, like when you first get there, that's Murmur Town. Um, but there's a lot more to Murmur Town than what you've seen in the demo. There's the residential area, there's the wilds, and that's all kind of part of Murmur Town. Um, and each biome kind of has its own style, I'll say. There's a winter biome, there's a swampy biome, there's one that's kind of like in the sky, and there's one that's in a different realm, I'll say.
Ooh, I like the
Yeah.
mystery there. Love the mystery there. Awesome. Cool. Wow. I think the last little bits left, because I've exhausted. I've got through all my questions.
Yeah.
Yay. Where can obviously this demo is available. So Crystal, where can we find the demo? Where can we find you, and where can we get more updates on this really amazing game that you are developing at the moment?
So the pre-alpha is available on itch.io. If you want an easy way to find it, just go to crittercrops.com. And there's a cool little bunch of bubbles up at the top right hand corner that will also give you links to Twitter and Facebook, and our Discord, and our Kickstarter page. We don't have a Steam page yet. I don't know why, because
It's on the list. It's on the list of
it's
things
just
to
on the
do.
list of things. But yeah, so you can follow anywhere, any of those mediums. I will say that Twitter's our most active and Discord is a lot of fun. We have a great time there, and I share cool stuff that I don't share anywhere else. So if you want some sneak peeks, join Discord. And we have cool contests and other stuff. Oh, where you can win stuff. Actually, hold on. Look at this.
Oh, we love a bit of plugging. Oh, we love a bit of merch.
I just got these.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
They're pins.
That is amazing.
So they're really, really awesome. I just got them, and they were kind of like the Halloween special for this year, and people that bought them before Halloween got they're also going to be getting a code for an in-game skin.
That's exciting. Oh, we love a bit of merch. Oh.
But yeah. So thank you for the interview. If you don't have any more questions, that is, you can
I
ask
was about to
away.
say, I am done. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And you know, we will obviously, hopefully, things will go well. And hopefully, if you've got time in your very busy schedule in a few months' time, we might even have you back on to see how things are going, if that's all right with you.
Okay.
But yeah, that's amazing. And if you liked this video, please do like and subscribe to Robot Republic, and tickle that little bell icon so you get all the notifications for when all of our new content is coming out. Again, another big thank you to Crystal. And we will see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.